Okay, so welcome everybody to our Youth Activities Funding Fair for groups within the East Riding of Yorkshire. However, it will be applicable to groups outside of East Riding of Yorkshire as well. So, please feel free to stay. We've got a number of funders along today, but before we start, I just wanted to just welcome and introduce myself. So my name is Betty Tyler. I work for East Riding Voluntary Action Services. Part of our role is to support the voluntary youth sector in East Riding, help them to look for funding and to manage their funding, to support them with volunteers. We also work very closely with groups to engage young people in volunteering and social action. And what I would say today is when we are considering doing any funding activities for young people, it's very important that we involve young people in all aspects of that project. So making sure that what we are developing for young people is actually what they want, getting them involved in looking at things like fundraising, or actively looking at how they could find out from other young people how to steer the project. But it is really important that we involve our young people in any projects that we are developing. The same with any funding applications. It's really important that we involve our beneficiaries to make sure that what we are actually applying for funding for is what's needed. Part of what we do at East Riding Voluntary Action Services is we do run a project called Volunteering Voice, which is myself and Dave Brown, and that is funded through the National Lottery Community Fund for the next, it's a 3-year project. It'll finish in around about 2.5 years. So we are more than happy to come and actually work with you on how you can involve young people in projects. We also have a website, which I'm going to just share the link now. And that is about working with young people, and it's on our Boost training site. It's very much aimed at groups that work with young people or children, and in our website we have a guide to fundraising. So it gives you, there's webinars on here and information around how you can specifically fundraise for youth groups, what grants and how to apply for funding aimed specifically at youth groups. We will include this recording on there as well. As we also have things around guides to governance around working with young people. And what I would suggest is that if you aren't familiar with that site, to go and have a look. So without further ado, I am going to pass you on to one of our funders. Just to remind those people who've just joined us, if you're not actually going to be presenting, it'd be brilliant if you could switch off your videos and put yourselves on mute, mainly because we are recording this and it is going to go out on YouTube. So you might not want to go on YouTube, you might, that's absolutely fine. It just makes it a little bit better. So the first funder that I'm going to hand over to is Mr. Stephen Stroud from the Browns Trust. So thank you very much for coming along today, Stephen, and over to you.
Thank you, Detty. Well, my name's Steve Stroud and I'm the Vice Chairman of the Browns Trust. And I'm here really to try to increase our profile a bit. We're a charity, a Yorkshire-based charity that awards grants to other Yorkshire-based charities. And we've got a very wide remit. Basically, our key criteria is to help disadvantaged people. So within that area, we award grants of currently up to a maximum of £15,000. That's £5,000 a year for 3 years. The reason I'm really here trying to raise our profile a bit is that even before COVID, we noticed that the number of applications we were getting was decreasing. We award roughly £400,000 a year. And we've been doing that since 2007. And now, obviously, COVID has had a marked effect on charities, the administration of charities, and turnover within charities. So one of the things that we discussed at our last trustees board meeting was how we could attract more applications that meet our criteria. So I'm really here today to tell you that the Browns Trust is awarding grants, and we have awarded grants to youths since 2015. I think we've awarded over 40 grants to youth-focused charities. We're available on the web. If you search the brelmstrust.org, you'll find our website. If you do a Google search and say charities funding Yorkshire, you'll find our website. So really, I just wanted to make you at Irvas and other people that were looking for funding aware of us. We only award grants to existing charities. You've got to be a charity and you've got to file a report with the Charities Commission. You've got to be locally Yorkshire. We only fund Yorkshire-based charities, and you've got to have a gross income of less than £500,000. You know, other than that, we've got quite a wide remit. Detty, that's really all I wanted to say.
That's okay. That's lovely.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Brilliant stuff. Has anybody got any questions? Because if you wanted to put them in the chat or to just raise your hand using the reactions button, that's fine. I mean, I had just one question, Stephen, and that was, can you apply for funding for more than 1 year? Can you go into 2-year, 3-year projects, or is it just 1-year projects? Or
you can apply for up to 3 years,
okay,
and a maximum of £5,000 a year.
Lovely.
The application is all electronic. It's on the website. Yeah. We've worked quite hard with the website over the years, so we like to think it's pretty user friendly, and we kind of touch base with all our grantees to tweak it. So I think it's fairly straightforward to apply, and all the criteria and rules are on the website. That's
brilliant. I have shared the website link in the chat, and for people who are watching the recording, it is www.brelmstrust.org.uk. But that's lovely, Stephen. I understand that you have to get off now, but if there's anybody got any questions, just before Stephen leaves. But I think it looks like you're free to go. But thank you very, very much for coming along today. That's really helpful and very useful. So thank you.
Thank you, Detty. And I look forward to applications from your area.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. And now I'm going to hand over to Roxanne Wood from Two Ridings Community Foundation. So Roxanne, you've got a number of different funds. So I'm going to hand over to you. If you want to share your screen, you should be able to, or if you just want to talk, that's absolutely fine. So over to you.
Hello everyone. Yeah, I'm Roxanne. I'm a grant coordinator. I don't know, the job title's just changed, but basically if you put an application into Two Ridings, it'll likely, I'll see it at some point. I'm going to make an attempt to share my screen. I have got a small presentation. Let's see. Can you all see that?
Perfect. Yep. Yes, that's great.
Not going to stop ringing now. So yeah, Two Ridings Community Foundation, we're one of 46. We cover the whole of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. That £98 million figure, that's the total grant making that all community foundations have done. For Two Ridings, our average grant size over the last, from April to December this year has been £3,908. We are about grassroots giving, so it's small grants to small groups. And again, so far for this year, the success rate has been about 68%. The good news for youth organisations, though, is that the majority of our funding has gone to organisations working with children and young people. It's I think 218,000, yeah, some mad figure about how much we've distributed to children and young people. What we try to do is we work with small groups that are improving the lives of people in a local geographical area, and it's providing accessible funding for local grassroots groups. And our funds as Detty said, we've got multiple different ones, so they might focus on loneliness, mental health and well-being, improving community cohesion, connecting people with their community as well, or stuff like enhancing skills and employability. We're an independent grant making organisation. As I said, our focus is on North and East Yorkshire. In a usual year before the pandemic, we did about £1 million a year in grant making. Throughout the pandemic, though, that rose to 3.2 million. This year, for this financial year, we're already at 1.25 million and expecting it to reach just below 2 million for this last year. And what we do is we encourage local charitable giving and philanthropy to support small organisations. We're about wanting to develop a relationship. We know that you're all amazing people doing amazing things. You maybe don't have a lot of time, so we're happy to provide any assistance. We don't want to waste your time. So yeah, before, during and after, we're always there. You can pick the phone up or send an email. Telephone's often easier, so you can get an answer quite quickly from us then. We do this top tips when applying. We don't want to overcomplicate the process. So we recommend everyone checks that they're eligible to apply. We will fund any sort of not-for-profit organisation. So charities, CIOs, community interest companies, just a constituted group as well. We just ask that you've got 3 unrelated people on your management committee and the majority are unpaid. We define small as being under £500,000, but we do have some schemes where it's even lower. So check the guidance notes, check the web page. When you're completing a form, this might sound obvious, but answer the question being asked. Lots of times people go off on a tangent and you kind of look back at the question, you're like, I don't think that's not giving me the information I need. Make sure your budget's right. And again, it sounds really obvious, but I'd say a good 70–80% of applications that we receive, the budget is incorrect. And it just slows the process down a bit because it means there's more follow-up with you. And we don't want to waste your time. Provide all supporting documentation. Different funders will require different things. We want to see your governing document. We want to see names and addresses of your trustees, just so that we can check that you've got 3 unrelated living at different addresses. If you're applying for a children and young people project, we would expect to see a safeguarding policy. If you don't have that in place, so we can work with you on that, but it is something we would expect to see. Your last financial accounts, and that could just be, if you're so small, it could just be a spreadsheet that shows this is what we had in and this is what we spent in the last year. Another tip is ask somebody else to read the application. Even if it's just a quick look through, and you'll find if they've got questions, your funder's likely to have the same questions. Whilst we've got these relationships with groups, we don't pretend that we know everything about everyone. So if you get somebody else to have a little read over, you can kind of adjust and adapt based on their feedback. Keep to the point, be succinct, and don't use jargon. We're not specialists in your areas. It's brilliant, all the stuff that you do. But if you can, plain English is what's best for us. And if you can say it in 10 words, say it in 10. We don't want anybody to be sat there for hours writing War and Peace or trying to get to the word limit that we have. Keep it nice and simple. Be aware of the priorities of the scheme that you're applying for. As I've already said, we have different schemes and different ones will have different priorities. If you're not sure which to apply for or if your project will be eligible, just call us and we can help you. So that leads on perfectly to that number 9, ask us if you need help. And number 10 is don't miss the deadline. Lots of our programs are rolling deadlines, but we don't want to delay your application because of the missing the deadline. So for us, keep in touch. So during the application stage, we're happy to answer questions about eligibility, what the process is, if you need support with your supporting documents, deadline dates, just in general as well about your actual projects. We're quite happy to listen to what it is and give you advice and guidance. If you are successful during the funding period, we know that things don't always go to plan, but it's really good if you just let us know that there's a change to expenditure or you need an extension, or if there's any delays in submitting some monitoring information. We're flexible. We will do our best. Sometimes we have to be guided by what the donors want, but we will do our best to make those changes and work with you as an organisation to implement those changes. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing a monitoring form come in and it doesn't match the application and we've not been informed about it in between the process. Yeah, just talk to us, have a conversation, and we can help with that. There is a little bit of monitoring to do once the funding period has ended. So we ask you to complete a grant monitoring form. What it is that we really love those, we love to hear the case studies and we want you to keep in touch with us. It's great. I've had a few weeks now of calling groups that I've not spoken to in maybe 12 to 18 months, and it's been brilliant just to keep in touch with them. Picking that phone up and saying, this is what we're doing, or this is what we're looking for funding for, this is what we're struggling with, we're there and we'll help as best as we can. And we do this thing called Seeing is Believing. So some donors or even just people, friends of the foundation, love getting out there and seeing groups. So we might even ask if you'll be part of a Seeing is Believing visit, where we'll bring a few people down, see your organisation, see what it is that you're up to, and yeah, just bring it to life what it is that you're doing. The current funds available from two ridings. So we've got the Betty's and Taylor's Group Coronavirus Community Fund. Their grants are up to £5,000 towards core costs of the organisation. And I'm just going to bring in the step change ones as well, because they've both got very similar criteria. So step change is up to £10,000, and again for core costs. And that's for, yeah, any organisation, core costs. All we ask is that we want to see some sort of step change for your organisation. And that could be something very small. So it could be that you're improving your services or extending your services. It could be that you need a piece of IT equipment or some software that'll help you run things a little bit better. Yeah, so both of those are quite unusual, just being able to put in a significant amount for core costs, but to help you as an organisation learn and develop. And then we've also got the small grants scheme. That's grants up to £2,000. And again, something that will cover anything and everything. So it could be project delivery, it could be your core costs, it could be some small capital equipment. That is focused on organisations though with an income under £100,000. And their decisions, small grants are decisions every week. We're a bit of a weird period. If you submit now, you're not going to hear until January, but we're doing decisions for those on a weekly basis. And then our coming soon, it's yet to be named, but it's for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Fund, and that'll be grants up to £10,000 for art projects. And that's going to be for activity right throughout the period of June. So quite exciting. That's going to have a very short turnaround. So it'll open in January, close at the end of February, and decisions will be in March for that one. Something to just talk about what we are piloting at the moment is something called participatory grant making. We've just finished it in York with a programme called Deciding Together, and we're doing it in Scarborough at the moment for specifically Scarborough children and young people, mental health and wellbeing. And the aim with that is to have a panel that consists of young people, and they'll do the decision making. We'll take some learning from that, and as we start to launch more new funds, we'll start to see that sort of getting young people, if it's a young person's fund, getting them involved. So do always keep an eye on our website of what we've got coming up, because it might be that there's more opportunities than just funding, just those opportunities to sit on panels and for learning and development. What we can't fund, there's not much that we can't fund, so private businesses, organisations based outside the area of benefit. We say national organisations, but we can fund those that do have autonomy or can demonstrate that their funds are ring-fenced. We don't fund retrospectively. That work undertaken by or on behalf of statutory bodies, and the same for the schools, colleges, universities. It's a bit of a grey area. If you are doing anything with them, get in touch with us first and we can talk to you about what it is that we can and can't support. At the minute, we're taking them on a case-by-case basis. We can't fund work for the advancement of religion, and unfortunately, we don't fund work where the main beneficiaries are animals. If you are funded, we will retweet or whatever, share on Facebook, that sort of stuff, engage with you online, so we'd encourage that. Application forms, you can find everything that we've got available on our website. And just a reminder, read the guidance notes, make sure you meet the eligibility and attach all your supporting documents, and get in touch if you've got any questions. That's all our info, and I'll send this on to Detty so she can share it with you all as well, that presentation. Any questions?
Has anybody got any questions, Roxanne? That was brilliant, thank you very much. And we are going to be putting this whole recording actually on YouTube and sharing that link as well. So, so if you wanted to send me the information, the presentation in addition, we can wing that out too. One of the things that I just wanted to just check, is there anything left in terms of crime reduction fund money that you are looking after at Two Ridings, or is that now completely finished?
The real answer is I'm not sure. We're tying up a few loose ends and we've got a small pot of money, but we're not quite sure what will happen with that yet. So just keep checking on the website, but if it does reopen, it is only a very, very small pot, which we have. So.
Okay, that's lovely. That's brilliant. So has anybody got any questions for Roxanne? If not, I'd like to say thank you very much.
Thank you,
Roxanne. That's brilliant. Thank you for coming along and presenting, and people can get in touch with you via the website and the details that you shared. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to deliver a short presentation on behalf of Darren Law, who isn't able to come today because he's actually at something else. So this is going to be about the Positive Activity Grant. So I'm going to just attempt to do him justice and talk about the Positive Activity Grant, which is administered through East Riding of Yorkshire Council, and it's funding with, obviously East Riding of Yorkshire Council's funding, and how we can apply for the 2022 grant pot. So in terms of contacting Darren, I'll share his details at the end. So this is all about funding for groups that work with young people. You've probably heard of this before. It's been around for quite a long time now. It's called the PAG grant for short, or the PAG. So it's a Positive Activity Grant. So we have got, next year, there is going to be 3 bands that you will be delivering to. So we've got Band A, which is for brand new voluntary youth organisations that have never ever had a Positive Activity Grant before, and they can there's only going to be one award made of up to £10,000. So that's very significant. So for brand new groups working with young people, they can apply for Band A, but they must not have had a Positive Activity Grant before. Then there is Band B, and they're going to, that can be for voluntary and community groups that have had PAG before, but they want to start a brand new project for young people. So that's a project that's never been funded before through PAG. So they're going to award 3 grants of up to £4,000 each in Band B, and then in Band C, It's for volunteering community groups that may have had it before for the same kind of youth project, and they're going to award up to 9 grants of £2,000 each, but altogether there's £40,000 available, which is brilliant news. In terms of the application process, for groups that work with young people, you need to make sure that you're registered on BCAN, which is a website that Hey Smile have for voluntary groups, and it looks at all your kind of fit for purpose criteria, making sure that you've got things in place that you need, such as safeguarding policies, health and safety policies, risk assessments, you do DBS checks, you know, all that kind of fit for purpose thing. And if you need any help with anything, then they can help you to put those in place. And there is the contact for the Hive team, they call it. So it's 01482 806 226, and you can email them hive@heysmilefoundation.org. If you are a sport project that wants to apply for PAG, then you would be required to register with the East Riding Club Accreditation Scheme, which is through the council. And it's a similar kind of thing. It's about making sure you've got everything in place that you need to have to make sure that you're a safe place for running projects with young people. And you can get in touch with Tracy Toplis, which is tracy.toplis@eastriding.gov.uk, telephone 01482 392 523. But you must be registered with either of those projects, depending on what you do, by the 31st of January in order to be able to apply. The applications are now open, so you can get your application online via the East Riding of Yorkshire Council's Flexi Grant system. The web link is there. If you want support with how to do this, then you can contact Darren Law, and his details are there. You can call him on 0779 669 7940. And you will fill in your application form online, making sure that you're registered with either the BCAN or with Sport Play and Arts. And then you can, and then once that application form is all done, before the 31st of January, because that's when the applications close at 23:59 precisely on the dot. So if you're in February trying to complete it, you've gone past the deadline. And then a decision will be made mid-February to look at the applications, and people who are successful will be notified by the end of February. Then there will be a presentation event. The grants will be awarded middle of March 2022 for commencement of the project 1st of April. So this is for groups who want to start their projects by then. They look at a number of different things about whether or not you're going to be awarded the positive activity grants. It's to benefit young people who go to voluntary and community youth groups or sports groups to look at diversionary positive activities for young people. So, you know, you have to be a voluntary or a not-for-profit organisation. You must be registered, as we've said, on either Beacon or with sports. Well, it's with Tracy Toplis. It'll only be for groups that will deliver positive activities to young people between the ages of 9 to 19 or up to 24 with a learning disability or any other special educational needs. Grants will not be awarded to individuals or to organisations who fund individuals. Organisations must deliver the service they gain funding for, so you have to obviously deliver what it is you said you were going to deliver, and you can only have one application per organisation. Okay. There's a number of things they look at to score projects in terms of whether it's going to be successful. You know, is it doing what it's aimed at funding? Is your project going to be delivering positive activities for that young people in that age group? Have you got evidence that there's a need for that? And as I said right at the very beginning of today's event, it's very important that you do involve young people in projects that are designed to support them or to engage them. If you need any help with that, you can get in touch with myself or Dave Brown at Irvas. We can help you with that. But it is really important that what you're wanting to do is actually what young people want. So you need to really show that young people have been involved in this particular application. You know, it's very strong on scoring that type of thing, and it's up to 15 marks for that. We're looking at projects being in areas of high urban or rural deprivation, so you score more for whether you're in the top 10% indices, etc. So then other scoring criteria is that it fits within the East Riding 2020 Board's ambitions and East Riding of Yorkshire Council's corporate priorities. So that will be on your application form. You will be able to see what those are, and you'll be able to show where your project fits with that, and also that your evidence in your application that it's meeting the outcomes and support that it's aimed at. So that's what you're scored against. Additional notes to say that you must spend your funding within 2022-23, so it must be spent by 31st March 2023, and any monies that you haven't spent will have to be returned to East Riding of Yorkshire Council, which I'm sure you'll all agree is fair enough. And please note, and this is the same every year, as people who've applied before will know, they are very, very oversubscribed for this grant. And so the scoring process is very, very important. So make sure if you are applying that you're really going to be meeting those areas that you're going to be scored against. If you aren't successful in Band A or Band B, and that's what you've kind of gone for, your application will be looked at in terms of Band C, but obviously that wouldn't be as much funding available. So just to bear that in mind. And the awarding panel members, there would be an independent representative, there would be a member of the East Riding Yorkshire Council funding team, there would be somebody from the Early Years and Family Information Service, and there would be a young person as well, just so that you get an idea of who's on the awarding panel. And for more information, you can contact Darren Law, and that's Darren with an O, DARRON LAWER, email darren.law@eastriding.gov.uk. And if you just search for Positive Activity Grant East Riding Yorkshire Council on Google, it would bring you to the right page, but there is the website link. Okay, so that is the Positive Activity Grant. So is there any questions? But bearing in mind, it's not my grant, but I have worked with Darren for a number of years on this, so I might know some answers, but I would suggest getting in touch with him as soon as he can if you are interested in applying to that. Okay, no questions. So that's lovely. So, but I'm going to move over onto Alex Camplin, who's here from Active Withensea, who's going to do a presentation on a fund that they've got available. So Alex, over to you. Thank you very much for coming along today. I'll hand over. I don't know if you want to share your screen, you can if you want, or whether you're just talking. So I'll leave it with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dessie. Yeah, I am going to share a screen. Bear with me a second. So, you've logged on. Sorry, there's two of us working from the same space, so we've struggled to log on together.
We can see that. That's perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, so the Active Withensea Get Going grants are small community grants programme that our wonderful Selena manages for us. Unfortunately, she's on leave at the minute, so she's put me together a presentation, so I'll do my best with it. Sorry, bear with me. Technology doesn't mix at this time of day. I need another cup of coffee.
Can you find the little arrow at the bottom, Alex, of your presentation on your slideshow?
No. Right. Let's start again. There we are. Was that moved?
Yes, that's perfect. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, teething errors. So Active Withensea, for those of you that don't know, haven't come across us. So we're one of the Sport England local delivery pilots that are working together to create a happier, healthier, more active Withensea. We have key focus areas that were identified through research and engagement that we did back in 2018-19. And they've come out as open spaces, young people, walking and cycling, our Get Going grants that I'm here to talk about, and our community shape opportunities. The pilots are spread out across the whole of the UK. We are the smallest of the 12 pilots with our tiny little population of 6,500. When you compare that to places like Essex with 1.5 million, and Greater Manchester with just shy of 3 million, any money that we get from Sport England is going to make such a big difference, and it's really great to be able to bring that to Withensea. Our grants are about fresh thinking. It's got to be creative, it's got to be innovative. We have quite a simple process, it's online. We're really proud of encouraging people who don't normally apply for grants to come through and do some grants, and I'll give you a couple of examples towards the end of this. You can apply for more than one grant, and we've got someone who's going through their second grant application with their first one being successful as we speak. We look at our grant applications every month, so it's ongoing, and we're looking at keeping going for another 14, 15 months at least. And then you get to speak to one of us lovely Accreditation team members before you actually come for your grant, so we will hand hold as much or as little as needed through it. So it's really good if it's the first time that someone's gone for a grant. Our grants are from £50 up to £1,000, with applications being submitted at the last Friday of the month, and approximately 6 weeks later, payment happens. The grants panel that make the decisions on the grant are made up of local people, people that have received grants, members of the management team. It's a really nice variety of people. So the application process starts with coming and speaking to one of us at the Active Witnessy team in the shop, which is where I am on Queen Street. We check your eligibility, check to see if the idea can actually move on. We will help with the application. Selena will do as much or as little as you need with that. If you're not one for application forms, but your thing is very tangible and you can show us in a video how brilliant it will be, we'll watch a video, we'll stick that on the application. We don't want the forms to be a barrier. The applications are assessed for how complete they are. As Roxanne said earlier, sometimes people go off on a tangent and sometimes things aren't completed, so we double check all of that with you. It goes to our panel, who I've briefly mentioned, so that's people from Active Witnessy, Sport England, local organisations such as Big Local, Smile, and people that have previously got our grants. Sport England have the final sign-off, and then the applicant gets their grant offer letter, and then they receive the funds in a couple of weeks. So it's as quick and painless as we can make it. So the criteria for our grants are quite simple. You have to be a resident of Witnessy or the surrounding area, or an organisation or group based or operating locally. The idea is to benefit and to be easily accessible to Witnessy residents. It's to increase participation in physical activity, with us being Sport England funded. That makes sense. You've got to fit in with the Active Witnessy principles, which are actually behind my head, but we do give you a copy. It's all about this fresh creative thinking, this innovation. The impact of the idea is really important to us, and also the value for money. Who can apply? I keep going to Selena and asking, can this person apply? And she's yet to say no. So I'll run through what she officially says, but it keeps expanding. So if individuals are non-constituted groups, so they'll receive support and resources instead of cash. So we don't want to be paying money into an individual's bank account, but we will pay for the printing of leaflets, or we've got a lady who is going to put some stuff in the local papers, so we will get invoiced for that for her grant money. And we will purchase equipment and services with local suppliers on their behalf. Constituted groups or organisations based in Witnessy and surrounding areas. So constituted voluntary or community groups, businesses and sole traders, companies limited by guarantee, registered charities, community interest companies, social enterprises, statutory bodies, schools, colleges, nurseries and playgroups. So there are very few people we won't fund. Gone too far. We can't fund ideas that promote religious beliefs or political campaigns, retrospective costs or loan repayments, existing programmes, unless it's to enable the development of a new idea or activity. With that, if you have a ballet dance class, we can't fund the ballet dance, but if you suddenly want to do some street dance, we'll look at that with you. We can't fund ongoing running costs such as rent, gas and electric, items that can only benefit an individual. This is for groups, this is for the whole community, and ideas that mainly benefit residents living outside of Withensea. We are the local delivery pilot for Withensea, it's kind of in the name. Successful applications, our Get Going grant scheme helps people and groups in Withensea bring their ideas linked to physical activity to life. The scheme so far has helped 4 groups and 1 individual in Withensea. So these are a couple of examples of our successful applications. So the Withensea Karate Club hosted 3 sets of taster sessions over the summer. The gent who owns the Karate Club had never done grants before, never been bothered with it. And it was only because we were chatting to him over a coffee that he came and had a go. He now sits on our grants panel and has applied for other funding elsewhere now. Tigers Sport and Education Trust came to us for funding for 20 places for their autumn football centre. They worked with the school and these were given out to children that otherwise wouldn't have been able to have that opportunity. Our first individual application, anyone for tennis, has applied for funding to explore community interest in tennis. So she's going to be putting adverts and surveys out in the local free paper, running a couple of drop-in sessions. She's also just about to put another grant application in to pay for some sessions of tennis to happen indoors during the winter so that she can keep pushing this tennis because we've got quite a lot of interest from the provisional staff. The Withensea Carnival applied for funding for new activities such as swimming at the leisure centre and equipment for a sports day. And then this is my baby, is the Eastside Gym have used some funding for our scheme to pay for room hire of the sports hall at leisure centre for boxing for young people. In 4 weeks, we've had 80 young people through the doors for that. So that's amazing. And this small grant that has given the coach the ability to try this in Withensea when his boxing gym is closer to Hull has been amazing for the opportunities it can bring to the town. That's it for my presentation. So I will stop sharing. And if anyone's got any questions.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Alex. One of the things that I'd like, that I was interested in is it's not just voluntary groups, is it? It is for statutory partners as well. It's more about the activity, isn't it, for the benefit of people locally? Yeah,
as long as it benefits people in Withensea to do a bit more, then we'll look at it and we're quite happy to part with our money.
And is it, how far outside of Withensea do you go, or is it very much just in the town, or does it include catchment areas, for instance, schools, or how far up?
We haven't come across that bridge yet. We sort of bound around if the catchment area for the high school.
Yeah.
If it's going to benefit Withensea in some way, we'll look at it.
Yeah.
But until it comes up, I don't have a definite answer for that.
Yeah, and I'm assuming we can, people can come and have a chat with you, can't they, and discuss ideas and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I'll stick our general email address in the chat, and that's active.withensea@eastriding.gov.uk. That's
brilliant. Yeah, I did have a look for your website, but you're kind of linked in with a different website, aren't you? So I thought I'd best leave that for you to make sure I put the right one in. So if you want to put the website in the chat,
activewithensea.org, and you'll find us there.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Alex. And okay, right. So I'm going to move on to another presentation, which I will deliver. It is about something called Dynamics Friends Fund, which is something that is administered through ERVAS, through East Riding Voluntary Action Services. And that is something that you would contact me about, or Judith Leach. So this is for groups that work with children and people with special educational needs and or disabilities. It's a legacy fund that is from a group called Dynamics that started in 2013 in Driffield. It was an inclusive youth club for young people between the ages of 8 and 24, where they could come along, they could bring their siblings, they made new friends, tried new things, went on trips and had a great time. So, as many groups do after so many years, they decide to finish really, but they wanted to leave a legacy and they still had some funding. So, so that's how we came to set up the Dynamics Friends Fund, which is able to support young people who live across the whole of East Riding, either funding them individually, which we'll talk about in a minute, or funding those groups that work with them. So a little bit more about the criteria. So whether it is a group applying or whether it is a young person, somebody applying on behalf of a young individual person, it is aimed at young people between the ages of 8 to 24 years old. They must live in the East Riding. The funding is to support young people to be able to access and participate in social activities. It is very much aimed at, you know, making sure young people can socialise, that they have fun, they try new things, they get to learn new skills. But it is very much about that kind of having fun, socialising type of fund. And you know, the funding application could be for things that they might need to do that. So it could be about any specialist equipment that they might need that would enable them to take part in activities. And these are really activities outside the home. It's not really about activities within the home setting. It is very much about getting them out to things. It might be for entrance fees. It might be about additional kit they might need, if they needed any lessons, if they needed any support workers to go with them to enable them to go independently to a group. You know, so, but it's very flexible. And again, like with many of the funds that we're talking about today, you know, have a chat with me and talk to the funders, and we can make sure that when you're applying, you know, you're applying for the right thing. You need to be able to show the difference that the funding will make to young people. So obviously, if you're a group, a voluntary and community group, because this is, you know, the only groups that we're funding is voluntary and community groups. If you're working with groups of young people, we need to know, you know, what difference will this funding make? And that also includes the numbers of young people who will benefit from the funding. If it's about somebody applying on behalf of an individual young person, then we still want to know the difference that the funding will make to that young person's life. Okay, so obviously we're not interested in the numbers then, it's about one young person. So if you'd like to apply or find out a little bit more about the fund, then you can get in touch with me, Detty Tyler, which is detty@irvas.org.uk, or Judith Leach, judith@irvas.org.uk. You can call us on 01482 871077. You can go on our Irvas website or just search for Dynamics Friends Fund Irvas, and it should bring us up, and we can discuss it more then. But you know, you can apply for up to £500 for individual young people, and for groups who are applying for young, you know, groups of young people, you can apply for up to £2,000. So so it's quite a nice little fund to develop young people's social lives, really. And I think that is that. Yes. But it's very much about young people with special educational needs and disabilities living in East Riding between the ages of 8 to 24, and it is all about them socialising. Has anybody got any questions about the Dynamics Friends Fund? Can't see any hands up. So that's great. Now, unfortunately, we have had a couple of funders who've not been able to make the event today. So Teresa Gale from East Riding of Yorkshire Council is unable to come along and talk about her her small grant, which is called Get the Active Creative Grant Pot. But what Teresa is going to do is she's going to send me details and information about that, which I will share through our networks of people working with young people around sports activities. In terms of the National Lottery Community Fund, Linda Clark was coming along today. She's not been able to make it, and at the moment I don't know why. So I know she was coming a couple of days ago. So in this uncertain times of people being poorly with various things, you know, I haven't heard anything. So what I will do is when she does get in touch with me, I'm sure she will send me detailed information about what is available from the National Lottery Community Fund, and I will share that far and wide. And what I would say in the meantime is you can find information on the National Lottery Community Fund by going online. Linda Clark is our regional coordinator. She is very, very approachable and always willing to have chats with people to develop ideas. And therefore, what I would say is if you are thinking of applying for something such as Reaching Communities or the Partnerships Fund, which are quite large pots of funding, or indeed looking at anything through Awards for All, which is the smaller pot that they administer, or anything that is maybe related to COVID, because now and again they put things on there. What I would say is have a look on their website first, and then if you want to discuss anything, then contact Linda. And Linda, her contact details, which I will just find for you, are, let me just find. So Linda is linda.clark without an E at tnlcommunityfund.org.uk, and her mobile number is 07976325202. So that is Linda's details. As I've mentioned a couple of times through the presentations, URVAS provides various support to voluntary and community groups, and we work very closely in partnership with other sectors as well. If you want to look at how you can involve young people within your funding applications and development of any projects related to youth, please feel free to contact me or to contact Dave. And also, like I said, we have got our website very much aimed at working with young people through our Boost training web link. So you can find out lots of information about fundraising, funding, applying for grants, working with young people. There's all sorts on there. URVAS provides support around searching for funding for people. We also help with managing your funding. So we have a large community accountancy service that comes under our Phoenix trading arm. So there's all sorts we can help you with in terms of if you are employing people and you needed support around payroll or employment, or managing your funds and your accounts and accountancy services. So please feel free to get in touch with us, because once you get all this lovely money in, which is what we want you to have to do these great projects, you need to make sure that you're able to look after it in the best way possible and with the best support possible. So yeah. So is there any other questions that anybody would like to pick up before I close it down? We are going to put the recording out on YouTube, and then we're going to share it. So thank you very, very much for all keeping your screens off and being on mute. You've all been fabulous. And I would like to say thank you very, very much for coming along. Thank you to all our fabulous funders, and it's great to have seen you all today. And I'm wishing you all the very, very best for Christmas and for the new year. And we all look forward to working with you in the future. So take care, everybody. I'm going to stop recording now. Thank you. Okay, so I